everybody, I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manasowicz.
And this is Pinky Promise, a podcast about growing up. And we have like an in-house guest, which we love when we have those. We have super funny, hilarious, beautiful comedian Kristine Blinn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
And it is funny. We let the comics that come on, or any guests that come on, like choose whatever they want to talk about. And you were like, I want to talk about my self-image and like how I struggled with that all through, you know, growing up. And I'm like, Kristine's like the prettiest comedian I know. I was like, okay, that's what you want to do. Yeah.
I just want to talk about how much I hate myself. Yeah. That'll make it for a really good, funny comedy podcast.
Welcome.
That's like we pretend to market as a comedian, like a comedy podcast, but Laura and I call it like we secretly try to get every guest to be like, this was like a therapy session. So,
you're like Brene Brown meets comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how did you feel?
How did you feel while you were laughing?
Does your mother like you?
Yeah, so Laura, we were literally like talking about doing your episode after another one, and then Laura and I were talking about doing Kristine's episode, and we ended up like talking about our own, like it made us like start thinking about our own body image shit, and we were both just like, damn, this is gonna be an episode.
Yeah, I like until everybody got ready to get real depressed. No, like before I started really looking into, like I knew how I was, and I knew I was like, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I knew I was fucked up. Like I had a fucked up relationship with food, and I knew it for a really long time, but I had no idea until I really started like doing readings and things and figuring out why I felt the way I felt and how it's just taught to you from the very beginning. Not even by malicious people who intend to do it. Like they don't intend to make kids, you know, have all of these issues, but it just does, and it's ingrained in there. And I think like we grew up in the 80s, right? Actually, Laura, I don't know, how old are you? Yeah, you grew up in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And that was like right when the real like diet craze in the 80s came out, and like aerobics and jazzercise and all that stuff. And I remember my mom as a kid I don't remember her as a kid, you know what when I was a kid.
And I look back in time when she was a child.
Yeah. Back when my mother was a baby. No, but like they all picked up on it. And, like I remember like when Snackwells came about and shit, you know, like
so much like and so young, and I remember like having to run in gym class in elementary school, so under 12, right? And being like, very much remember patting my stomach and telling someone who I don't know who, but like I gotta drop a few pounds this summer.
Oh my
Perhaps
God.
10 or 11 years old. Like what the fuck? And it's just been in there forever.
Do you know what I did? I went and found the picture, because I don't know how old I was, but I know the bathing suit I was in. And I found the picture of the bathing suit when I want to say I was like 7. Like I have it.
Really?
Yeah, we're getting it. Because I was looking at it and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I remember
this is
exactly.
how you felt.
Yeah, it's somewhere in here. So like, it was this bathing suit.
Oh my God. You just literally have like a child. You were like a tiny child in this photo.
I was a tiny, can I hold it up to the camera here?
Hold and we can post it too.
Okay. So
if
like,
you're okay with us posting
I don't care. Go ahead. My mom might not want that one posted.
We'll post the one without her.
Me. But like, so like, I don't know if you can really see it. Like I remember in that bathing suit. So I was that age. That's my cousin Paul. And the little girl in the blue bathing suit is actually my brother Danny.
Danny is going to be our next guest.
Yeah, it is a girl. Yeah. My parents were just like, who gives a shit? He wears it. He hates wearing his bubble. And so they told him it was a spaceman suit. And so he would just run around the neighborhood with that in. And they're like, we don't care. He could just fall in any pool and just float like a buoy. So, but yeah, I mean, like that was like, I remember like seeing like little teeny fat things on the side.
That's insane.
Yeah. And that was when I started hating myself.
Oh my God.
How yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I've talked a lot about like sorry Katie,
No,
like dance costumes. I didn't understand how bad that fucked me up because dance was always something I loved and I felt like I was good enough at and everything. And then it'd be like that one time of year where you get like pulled aside and tape measured for costumes and you're already like you can see the numbers that they're writing down for everybody else and then yours, and I was always bigger and it made me feel terrible, but I didn't understand it. And then the fucking costumes come and now you're next to like girls who have somehow the spandex is baggy on them and you're like a child in a woman's size or like what, you know, whatever.
You
like
can always see that one kid.
Yeah.
And like every little girls dance recital that I've been to, which is like not too many, but I will say enough that there is always, I feel so terrible, like the one girl who looks like she's like aged out of the dance group. And it's either because she's like so tall or she just like developed like a year early. It's like they developed like 15 minutes earlier than the other girls. And they're like, you'll be the tree.
I'll tell you, I never had a baggy spandex dance class.
No, I did. I was forced to wear a 2-piece one though, like a few years after that picture when I did. And I firmly believe, I think that because I became so self-conscious, I wouldn't be surprised if that affected my eating, which then, turned into the binging thing. But I had to wear, Laura, I had to wear a 2-piece. They put me in a 2-piece. I was not
Is it because you were
tall? A plump child. No, everyone wore a 2-piece, and I was the only like lumpy kid in the class, And I just remember my mom being like, you look beautiful. You look beautiful. Don't even worry about it. You look beautiful. And then I remember years later, her, talking about it and her being like, oh, I know that was just so unfair of them to do that to you. And so like all that registered in my head was, oh, I can't believe the compliments.
Lied to me. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So like I grew up and like, it's not even like, I don't even blame my mother. I don't, you know what I mean? Like they grew up in the world they grew up in.
Yeah.
And, but it's like, it's those subtle, really subtle things that set deeper than anything else.
And I think also it has to do with like if you're sensitive. Well, yeah, because like so I as a child I was just ripped. Like I had like a 6-pack or something.
That doesn't
somehow.
Surprise me. I don't know. Like, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
at all.
And I don't know why. Like my body type was just like muscle.
Yeah.
And then my sister was soft, and so like there was always a focus on her, and she would eat like. We didn't have like food rules in our house, but they would be like, oh, Olivia, they'd be like to me, they're like, what do we do about Olivia like not eating a whole box of cereal in a sitting? And I'm like, I don't know. We got to tread really lightly with this. Like, I don't know how to do it or whatever. But for me, I was so muscular and tiny. Like, I remember being like, I wish I could be, I was a 00 and like my friend was a size 9 and she had boobs. So I wanted to be a 9.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want boobs. Like, I just want like a real body. And then I started track and I started like lifting in like 7th grade. I was just like, I'm good at, like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just like, oh, I'm really good at this leg press machine. I could do like big numbers. And these like quads popped out. Still felt comfortable with my body, like totally fine. And I remember the moment it was a semi-formal dance, and I have the picture of the dress, and I can show you guys my fake problem picture, because one of the moms goes, whoa, your legs really like stick out in that dress, don't they, honey? And I was like, what? And I like looked down and my stomach was still tiny, and I had just like talked my friend off the ledge of like not going because she hated her body, and I was like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, let's just have fun. Like, what are you talking about? You look beautiful. Like, why would you let something dumb like that ruin your day? And then this mom's like, look at those fucking big ass legs, basically. And I remember I looked down and I was like, yeah, my legs are like sticking out further than
it just
my
takes
stomach.
one. It just takes one compliment. And there's like studies that are done, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but it takes like 4 compliments to 1 detrimental statement. To kind of like work back,
your
you know what I mean?
Chemicals to like even it out.
Yeah, and it really is. We do always just remember the negative things
Yeah.
first, and it only takes one thing to make you self-conscious.
My things were like fake compliments, I guess. Like the same dance, another mom was like, yeah, your back is so strong. Are you a swimmer? And I was like, what are they fucking talking about?
Stop
like,
talking about my
yeah,
body. Just let it go.
I remember just being like, guys, I don't know. Like I was the same person I am now. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know. This is just my body. Like I remember saying that and I was just like, Megan's never going to go to the dance now. Like, I was like,
there's such an emphasis on beauty, even at that young.
Like, I was 12. Like, what is 7th grade? 13,
Yeah.
12? Like, it's
Something
just
like
so
that.
crazy.
But it is, and it's in there even like right from the get-go, because now my niece, she's going to be 2 in August. And my sister-in-law and my brother and I are both sitting there. Danny, the one in the women's bathing suit. So my mom comes out and she put lipstick on Gracie. You know, when Gracie comes out like,
Oh, like ready.
oh, she looks so pretty, you know. And my mom's like, oh, she looks so pretty. And the three of us are like, it doesn't matter what she looks like. She's smart and strong and this and that.
It is funny.
My poor mother. She's like, I'm just trying to have a nice day with my granddaughter, you know, like.
And you guys are like, don't ruin her.
We're like, don't talk about your body, because that's even more of an effect.
Oh, yeah.
It's less like my grandmother, my dad's mom was like one of the most vain people you'll ever meet in your life. Her biggest compliment to me when I was at my skinniest and like sick was, oh, you're almost as skinny as I am now. That was her
and
big
that's
compliment
where you're
to me.
like, she's obviously has her own struggles that she's like not.
But I didn't really
probably even aware of.
I didn't put a lot of stock into that. You know what I mean? Because it was like, okay, you know, like we didn't really care much for Babs' opinions.
Like,
but then on the flip side of that is my mom's side of the family, who I'm very close with, a bunch of love, but I grew up with 3 aunts, a mother, and an older cousin who all they talked about was how much they needed to go on a diet and how much they need to work out. And they were not heavy women.
Yeah.
Plus my grandmother, my great-grandmother, hearing them, all they talked about was food. And so it's like that reinforced that getting fat is bad.
Yeah, so you're like
bad.
Even if you don't feel like you're at that point, you're like, I'm in danger of gaining weight, or I'm in danger of
sheer panic attacks. Yeah.
Katie, can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Just a timestamp.
Yeah.
My Zencaster says ready to record, but doesn't say recording, and I don't have sound on Zoom.
I never hit record. So you know what? We're recording the tracks over here, so we'll just go off of those.
You have my audio because I don't have Zoom audio.
I have audio that's probably coming through. You know what? Let's pause for 1 second. Okay, we're back. We have sound. Yay! The funny part about our panic break, which I probably just should have said anyway, is we go through, just so the listeners know, we record through an app that like locally records everyone's tracks. We record a backup on a soundboard that records both things that come in through to our headphones. And then we also record in like a third program that takes the files. The stupid sound one day I went out of my way to like make sure that app was working, and I told Josh, I'm like, everything was terrible, but don't worry, I got the Zencaster files. And he goes, I don't even use those. He goes, those aren't not the ones I like to use. And I was like, okay.
They're not even the good ones, Katie. They're not even the good ones.
It's like, well, they're here. So
and I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, the power went out and I turned the computer back on. So I think we need a celebration.
I'm looking at this shit, and that was pretty impressive as far as I'm concerned.
There's a lot of things that I'm not interested in that we have to use to do this podcast.
Yeah.
And to get us back in, I just want to state that I am resting my microphone on my stomach today. No regrets.
I've been looking at the positives, you know. I'm like, oh man, like I have cleavage for the first time in my life. And I mean, not in this outfit, but in some sports bras and a couple bathing suits.
You're like, there is.
Like when I look
Every
down
third
here,
Wednesday.
I can see a space. Normally, it's just like flat. Like
I like don't. I think my body like thoughts have never gotten, even when I'm just like, I don't love what I see, I just don't turn that into self-hate. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've like, my ideal body type for myself, like, really would be like Kristine's body type of like, oh, I like
what it is right now.
Yeah, like I wish I had long. I like my arms and legs are so short and stocky, and probably because that fucking bitch at that dance was like, look at those legs popping out. That like when Jankos came, I was like, fuck yes, like hide those fucking giant legs in those Jinkos.
What the fuck are Jinkos?
You know what they are.
Skater jeans.
Yeah, do you remember those jeans?
Yeah.
So when they came out, I was like, perfect. But I wanted that long body, and then pretty early on, I think I just realized like that's just not your body.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, moving on. Like, make the one you have be strong. Like,
that's
something
awesome.
happened where I was just like, it's fine. Yeah.
I remember when I graduated from the children's section to juniors, which is its own fiery hellscape. Not understanding, like, you don't like, I was like, I'm a kid and I'm new to this department, so I start at the bottom. So I'm pulling out all the little sizes, and I'm like holding them up, being like, they look small, but I guess I don't get it. Like, why would I be big? Because I'm new here. And then quickly realizing that's not how women's clothes work. And it was just like, bad, wrong. Like,
that's it.
There are two words that have broken my brain for most of my life. It's bad, wrong.
Yeah.
And like just internalizing that, and like mostly to myself. I'm sure I've shared it at some points while it was happening, but like trying to unlearn bad, wrong is very hard.
And that's the message that you get from, and it's the thing is that like, yeah, okay, so I guess that craze really started in the 80s, but all it's done is escalate.
Yeah. And that you guys, we all grew up at the same time period. Do you guys remember like Kate Moss was the it girl?
Yeah,
and chic.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, that is just not gonna happen. And I have a picture of me and my friend Lindsay, who has the same type of like curvy. We were both like curvy in that way. And when J-Lo and Beyonce like came to light, we were like, yeah. And we literally, I remember one day like someone was like celebrating J-Lo's body, and we were like, a body that looks like ours. And we like I'll try to find the picture. We like took a picture with our butts sticking out, and we were like, yeah. We were like fit. We're like, that came at the right time. Like for us, but we like recognized that the reason, like we recognized that like it's acceptable now. Like we were kind of like, thank God that happened now. Because, like, if I was in the 50s, they'd be like, what the fuck do we do with this body?
The beauty standards in itself, and this is something that I learned a lot about, too, is, like, seeing what different beauty standards are around the world, and also just how our own beauty standards change. Because now you need, like, this big, awesome ass.
Yeah.
But you look back, I think I was watching Working Girl, that 80s movie, and Melanie, what the fuck is her name? Melanie Griffith. Yeah. Is getting changed, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, she has like the best body in the world in the 80s and like such a flat ass, like no ass. I was like, my ass is better than this bitch's ass. You know, like it's just so those beauty standards change, which by the way is a horrible, unfair thing to say about objectifying
like,
women.
Which I'm also working on.
Listen, I am a total hypocrite. All right, I am working on it, and I'm trying to recognize when I'm being one. But you know, like so that those standards change, and now. You know, for a while, it was like if I didn't look like a coat hanger, I was fat. And I remember this. Okay, I did full disclosure. I was obsessed with Justin Timberlake. And back when I had really starved myself, I was down to like a size 2. And for the record, probably Laura, when you saw me last, I was probably like a 6 or an 8. So even when I was a size 2, I thought I was fat.
Which is like
because
wild.
There was this Justin Timberlake video that he did, and it actually is the video for I'm Loving It, which is now like the McDonald's jingle for forever. I watched that video a few weeks ago, and the girl in that video was the typical heroin chic that, you know, was cool. And it didn't even really necessarily, it's not like anybody really looked at it that much and was like, that's so unhealthy.
Like,
it was like,
I
they're
don't
so
even
hot. They're models.
And
like,
I don't even like remember her. Isn't that crazy?
Well, that's only because I was in love with him. And I was so then in my mind, if I don't look like that,
then he's never.
Yeah. And let's not even talk about how messed up my body image has done for me with dating because, and I'm talking about even when I was starving myself, if a guy didn't like me, it was because I was fat. And if he did like me, he just liked fat girls.
Oh my God.
And so it was.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not proud of this way of thinking. I am not, but it is like, it's so hard to unlearn that self-hatred and bad wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
When, you scroll through Instagram and you follow these fitness girls and you see these before and after pictures where it's like, well, the after obviously is the one you want.
The better one.
And if you look like the before, you are wrong. And not only are you wrong, now you're lazy. You're unmotivated. You're a slob. Doesn't matter if you have, 4 jobs and you're working really, really hard. If you're not in shape, just by people looking at you, and even in shape,
what does that mean?
Yeah. I'm reading all about this health at every size thing, which, wow, people are real quick to jump the fuck down your throat when you ever try and bring that up. Anybody ever try to bring up fat phobia to anyone? Oh, God. Oh, not a new term.
We don't need something forever. It's like, okay,
They're like, it's like the
but
new,
we're doing it.
It's the new. They're like, I don't hate it. I just don't want to fuck it. It's like the new homophobia.
How mad you are right now? This is it.
Yeah. It's like those people who are like, I would never date a black guy. It's like, well, you're racist. Well, no, I'm not. I just wouldn't date him. I'm like, well, that means you look down on that person,
Right.
Yeah. But yeah,
So you started, you have that memory of you in the pool or in the bathing suit.
Yeah.
And then did you start acting on that right away? Or was it like you just noticed it and then?
I knew I was wrong. I knew it was bad and it was wrong. And so if my mom ate SnackWells, I ate SnackWells.
Okay.
And, you become, it's more of a psychological thing.
Yeah.
From what I'm understanding, from what I'm reading now, of like the emotional and psychological effects that dieting have on you. Not to mention the physical effects, because the weight cycling I've done could have caused more damage to my heart than if I had just stayed the weight I was meant to stay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I did to my heart. And I already have heart problems in my family. But, so it's like you don't know what it does. But like, what they do say is that it's the restricting that causes the binging.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that you're addicted to food or whatnot, but I had to put.
You're so hungry.
You're so hungry. I mean, I was eating 1,000 calories a day and running at least 6 miles.
That fucking blows my mind.
Yeah, it was.
But so when did the behavior start? Because so you had that feeling very young, and then. When did you first know? Do you have a memory of a first time of being like, I have to over-exercise or I have to
I remember. So there were lots of things that happened, and then in high school, my OCD kicked in. That's what I like to say. It manifested, which it usually comes around in high school, later teens. And so because I was dealing with that and I was having such anxiety, I wasn't eating. Not on purpose. I just didn't have any kind of an appetite. So I didn't even realize it, but I started to lose weight. And then there come the compliments.
The compliments, yeah.
And so...
You're just so lean. Did somebody... it's just you're so lean all the time. Right now, you're to me... super lean and you have nice long lean muscles.
Which is amazing. Well, here's another thing that kind of fucks it up is because I'm tall.
Yeah.
So I'm tall when everybody else is a 6, I'm a 10.
Okay.
So you go by those numbers.
You comparing yourself.
I need it to be a 2 or a 4 or
which is
whatever.
Your bones won't even get there.
Yeah, I look like a bobblehead. So
and Kristine, I'll do you the opposite of being short. Get told, oh, well, if you were taller, there'd be more room for it all to go.
It's how is that a fucking compliment, you big fat C word?
Or that's the pity is well, sorry, you got dealt the short card. Now you got to be a little fatty.
And that is
like, what?
still reinforcing fat is bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are all different kinds of body shapes. Only 5% of the world's population is supposed to look like those Hollywood starlets.
Yeah.
You know, and now I look at them and I'm like, I bet they're starving. They must be so hungry.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's yeah.
And all the revamps, like every campaign to be like, oh, I guess we were doing it wrong before, is like somehow worse. It's like the we don't see color of bodies. Like, oh, you know, we want you don't want to be thin, you want to be strong. Okay, but like, what does that mean to you?
I used to
strong with rolls, with fat rolls? No. Okay, so you're talking about skinny. Okay.
Oh, and even looking at plus size models now, right? Who should just be called models. Let's just say it.
Regular models.
But like the plus size models where, you know, now they're fighting. It's like, well, you can be plus size, but you still have to have the right proportions.
Yes, you can have 3 stretch marks, but your stomach still has to be flat.
It's got to be flat. You can have a big butt, big boobs, but your stomach needs to be small.
Your waist has to be little. Yeah.
And I've always had love handles. And it has always been, that's where I've always focused. My love handles and my arms, like right here. And my jawline.
Which is just
pretty much everything. Like, by the way, sitting here staring.
Is
this killing you to like
I
look
feel like. Listen, I know. And it's shitty to complain. But I don't know what I look like. I don't know what I look like. I see pictures of how I think I look. I have an image in my head. I see something. I had a wicked spiral the other day because an unflattering picture was posted after a show. And I don't want to like tell bookers like, don't post any pictures of me. Like, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But it just like sent me on this spiral. And I just had to remind myself,
so
like,
hard.
You don't know. You know what I mean? You'd look different to other people. And what it really should be is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yes. It's I have no idea. There's the good version of what I think I look like in my head. There's the bad version of what I think I look like in my head. I leave the house thinking I look good and I see a picture and I go, nobody fucking told me. And it's like, no, because you surround yourself with people who love you and they think you look great.
You're like, I'm doing this crazy thing where.
And they actually do love you.
I had to go to the doctor a couple weeks ago and my boyfriend took me to make sure I would go because I was fighting it. And they weighed me in and I've gotten pretty good at being like, don't need to see it. Please don't tell me.
Yeah.
And this time they weighed me in kilograms and I was like, okay.
You're gonna make me do math now?
Convert it later.
Like, what?
But then I didn't have to because then they give you like 9 pages of printouts and on like the front page is like, here's your weight in pounds. We did the math for you. And it was a number that like, if my body has seen it before, my eyes have not seen that number.
Yeah.
So then I was like, you are now going to work really hard to remind yourself that your value as a human doesn't come from that number. And I had to like go get blood work done. So I gave him all the papers to hold. And then I was like, you idiot, you just gave him the number of pounds you weigh. And then I came back from getting my blood done and like he didn't leave, you know, he hadn't left running and screaming because he saw how much I weighed. And I was like, oh, what? I thought, and he's like, yeah, I saw it. You want to get lunch? And I was like,
but did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I found too? I'm sorry, I just totally cut you off.
No. Nope, I'm done.
I've been consciously trying to pay less attention to the reflection and pay more attention to like how I feel around people, how I feel when I walk out of the house. And I've noticed that the only time people are different around me is if I'm self-conscious at that moment. When I, am out of my head and everything, like nobody has treated me any differently, but it's that fear. And like being home from COVID, I put all this weight on and didn't see anyone. So it's like, I'm not just going back to a place with my coworkers. I'm going back to where my students are and everything. And like, all I can think in my head is them going, oh my God, Kristine's let herself go. Like the whispering behind my back that like.
So wild. Cause like your version of like, I put on so much weight is probably like what? 8% of your body weight. Like it's just like this tiny little
when
number.
When I stopped weighing myself.
Yeah. Like I just wouldn't even.
Because of the eating disorder treatment, I had to weigh myself, and so I haven't weighed
Okay.
myself since like October or November. But the pants keep going up, so I'm assuming the number's gone up, and I'm just trying to,
I fluctuate from having healthy relationships with my body image and negative ones, and my happiest times I don't own a scale. Like me on my own is I don't own a scale. And then I end up moving in with like a partner who has a scale, and then I'm like thinking about food or thinking about whatever, and I'm like, what the and my ex was like she had to go to bed because she would think about eating and she didn't want to, and I was just like, she needed to do her own work on it. And then for me, I was like, I can't be with someone like that because if I'm alone, I don't think about food like that. Like I'm just like, I want pizza, I'm gonna eat it, and now I'm not hungry anymore, so I'm gonna stop. When I was with her, like thinking about it all the time, I was like, I do want that food, I do want sugar, I do.
It's the restricting mentality.
And it was just like wild. And we had a scale, and I was like telling Laura, I'm like, anytime I've ever had a scale, I just watch it go up. Like I'm just weighing myself as I get bigger. Like,
and you know what? You're feeling fine right before you got on the goddamn thing.
And I was just like, I just don't.
It's just
learning that like even the quotation mark like good diet helpers are bad was also eye-opening. Like, no, but I lost weight the first time I did Weight Watchers. It's like, but you didn't the second time. And how did that make you feel? Like a trash bag?
You failed again.
Great.
When I had done the 1,000-calorie thing, right? It would
and
be.
When was this happening? Like during high school?
So no, at that point. Oh, okay. So the compliments came in high school, right?
Okay.
Then I put weight back on, went to college, but I was still playing volleyball. After I stopped playing.
But like when you say you're like gaining and losing weight, is this something that is it an amount? So like I started comedy, and because I now own a scale, I've gained 60 pounds since I've started comedy. And I know that number. Yeah. And then now I'm just like, whatever, that's fine. Yeah. Like I'm like, duh, of course, because you've replaced hours in the gym with hours in your car eating, McDonald's or whatever. Yeah. So I've just like accepted it, and I'm like, this is my body now. Like next, like moving on. But for when you say that you're like losing and gaining weight, are these like big weight gains and losses, or were they like to you big gains? You know what I mean? Like
in the midst of it, it was probably to me big gains and losses. But if I remember what I read correctly from the book Intuitive Eating, I believe if you even go up or down so much as just 11 pounds,
that's considered a big.
That's considered it can have a toll.
Okay.
So I went down in high school probably 20 pounds and then brought it back up. But again, that wasn't a restriction thing. That was just because I couldn't eat. So I got back up to a normal weight. And then it really got bad in college because when I stopped playing volleyball, I stopped working out and I just drank because it's college and I just ate whatever. We did Slim Fast my senior year as a group of friends. Okay. Before going to spring break.
I was going to say, were you like, I have an event, or were you just like...
Yeah, we had spring break and we were all doing it together, and so we did Slim Fast.
Well, guys, you know what would be fun, guys, if we just like didn't eat.
Yeah. We did it together because we all knew we would be miserable.
Yeah.
And we were like, we'll keep each other accountable and we'll be good. Right, Laura? We'll be good.
Yep.
So then, I put that weight back on because you just go do whatever.
Because that's like called not eating, and then you just nourish your body again.
Yeah. And then in my early 20s, when I was told that I was getting a little too big, by
but who's telling you this?
A family member.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. You're getting a little too big, Kristine. So I did Atkins first, and then when I plateaued with Atkins, was when I went on the first big calorie restriction.
Okay. And then what was happening? Like you were plateauing, and then you were just like getting mad that you were plateauing. And you were like, I have to do
I was getting mad that I was plateauing, and I was also terrified of getting bigger again. I mean, that burst of panic, that kind of, when you start to bomb on stage, and it's like it starts right here, and then it grows. It's like that numbness that spreads, right? Yeah. And so I remember having that first panic about eating carbs again when I decided to go into cutting calories. I was so afraid. So that was the first time I really felt panic about putting weight back on. And I mean like panic, like you turn around and see a bear, you know, because that's what people don't understand. Some people do love working out. Some people love being
like,
gym rats.
I need to do it,
they
or my
love
mental, like I need that dopamine hit of the workout.
People love it. People love getting into fitness, love bulking, love cutting, love doing it. They love that shit. The difference is when it comes out of that extreme, intense fear. So it was out of panic. So then I did that and I was running, and then the compliments.
And what were you doing? Were you like eating like the same thing every day, or were you
the
just
same
like,
thing? And it was absolute complete
like
shit.
Nothing.
It was like it was like those cups of ramen noodle things.
Okay.
Whatever it was that I could keep the calories down. Anything. It was pudding cups. Mind you, at the time that I was doing
100 calorie packs should
100,
go to hell.
Yeah, they should. So at the time also I was working 2 different jobs. So I had a daytime receptionist job at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And then I was doing overnights at ESPN.
Oh Jesus.
So I was working like your full on fucking day on 1,000 calories. Yeah. You know?
And then,
maybe
like,
if I got up to 1,200 calories, I was mad at myself.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing. So then I stopped being able to do that because you can't sustain it. You can't. So at this point I had moved to New York, and all of my friends in New York met me as this skinny person.
And so did anybody spend significant, like, did you have a roommate with you who was like, hey, you don't eat? Like, did anybody say?
Well, they would get really mad when I would eat all their fucking food because I wouldn't have any food, and I would like sneak eat their food because I was trying to starve myself, and then feeling like a failure because I couldn't keep it up. So I kept trying to find different things. It's the only reason I did any marathons. It's the only reason I did any distance running. And, you know, and it was up and down from there. And it just there was constantly finding the next thing that I could sustain.
And like, did you find that it affected your relationships at that point? Like just even friendships, like were you, I had a friend in high school who, now I'm like, I mean, at the time I was like, yeah, I think she has an eating issue. Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, fuck yes, she did. She would order like 100 different things on the menu, and we'd be at like Olive Garden, and she would order like pasta, like 2 pastas, and everyone would be like, wow, it's so crazy that you're so thin and you order all this pasta. And then she would play this game where every item had something wrong with it. And like at one point I was like, we're at Olive Garden. Like it's not going to be good. Yeah. Like, so there would be a reason why like she couldn't eat the food. And my fucking butt would be like, yeah, I'll take your leftovers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, you just gave me like my second dinner. And like, she would order all this food and never eat it. And like, if you really watched her, it was like she'd move food around. And then if someone commented like at a big table, someone would be like, you barely ate your food. She would be like, this is what was wrong with it. Yeah. And it was like, that wasn't wrong with it.
Yeah. I don't
know. Oh, go ahead, Kristine.
No, I was just going to say, I think, you know, when I was around other people, like the thought about food was always there.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know what I was showing those people that day. That's or what I was trying to hide or what I was doing.
Did you make a point to like try not to eat out with people, or?
I would eat out with people. It would be an extremely stressful time.
Okay.
It would be stressful leading up to it. If I didn't eat well going in, I mean, God, I've had nights out where I didn't even want to go out. And so I'd be like, well, just get really drunk. And then you're going to eventually have a great time, and you'll forget that you feel like shit about yourself. Yeah. So like, I mean, what are the healthy habits I'm developing?
I'll tell you, I think that you know, in the way that like the drug programs at school teach you that all drugs are as bad as heroin, and then you have to like figure out later what that means. Yeah. They teach you eating disorders as there's anorexia and there's bulimia.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
And they don't teach you that disordered eating and your brain and your heart and like
cutting out food groups is disordered.
Cutting out food groups is disordered. Equating your worth with food, if what you can and can't eat, is disordered. Assigning
rewards and punishments
and dirty to food is disordered. Like, it's so fucking broken, but it is this enormous industry, so no one ever tells you that. So you have to just like have these private hatred your whole life.
It's
part of my soapbox right now.
Take it.
And then you get to be an adult and you're like, none of this was my fault. And I'm not.
None of it was your
I'm
fault.
not a bad person.
No.
And now you're like fucking middle aged, right? And you're like, go ahead and unlearn that now. Moving along.
We're completely taught. I mean, women have known this forever. Where it's focused on beauty and being.
I've noticed we like teach ourselves too. Like we teach each other as women. Like I had a friend who was very, very thin, and at the time I thought we all were like, wow, she's so naturally thin. And then I got like closer to her, and I remember we would eat like one chick patty and some corn, and I'd be like, she'd be like, well, we gotta have a vegetable, and I'm like, I don't really feel like eating a vegetable right now, and she's like, well, we need to have one, so we'd like eat something, and then I caught her like multiple times in my hallway, like running in place, and I was like, we have to have a talk about this, like I don't know what's going on, but seeing her behave like that taught me that like, should I do that? Like, oh, like that was the first time. Again, like that 7th grade time where
Is there something wrong with me because I'm not doing that?
Because I don't care what I eat in that way. And I was like a vegetarian. I was eating tons of fucking vegetables all the time. But I was like, well, that lady did say my legs were big. Like then you start thinking
playing
like,
it.
Yeah, I should think about
Only
that.
remember
what's
those critical
the magic
comments.
equation to be perfect? And you're like, oh, there isn't one.
And then
no one says that.
How's this for fucked up? I wanted to be a size 9 so bad because my friend had boobs and she was a size 9. And then I read in a magazine article that the average weight of a woman was 150 pounds. And I remember like thinking and probably saying, definitely thinking to myself, well, if I got up to 150 pounds, I would get my jaw wired shut. Like, I remember thinking that. And now you're like, you fucking idiot. Like, how else would you get to be a size 9? Like,
do you know that they're now wiring people's jaws shut as a method to help people lose weight?
That's insane.
Yep, that is supposedly healthier, but don't eat fruit because there's too much sugar in it, and don't eat. It's just the diet industry it's like what $60 billion a year industry, and if diets worked, you would have only had to do it once.
Yeah,
right. And people who've created their body with money and doctors are pushing it, and it's like you didn't get that. From a shake.
I was really angry. I didn't look in. Okay, so I didn't look into the whole story behind everything, but on the surface level, this really pissed me off when Khloe Kardashian, somebody in her family posted that just regular picture of her
airbrush,
and she just looked good, like she just looked happy.
And from what I heard, because I just don't bother to fact check shit, what I heard was that she was trying to, at the best that they possibly fucking could, to get that thing taken off of the internet. And I'm like, you're sitting here, like, do you know the damage that you single-handedly are doing to young girls? You know what I mean? Like
she had this whole deal, because I looked a little further than you while telling myself not too far.
Mind you, I teach research in my English class in high school.
She had her whole story that was like, I don't want this because of how much shit I've taken for being the big one, the fat one, the this one, the that one, like all the things. So I only feel good when the pictures are perfect. And it was like, but ma'am, do you hear that?
But then is it art?
That's show revenge body too.
So I went even further. I found that post. But then
we could rule the world.
I was so fucking mad at her. I was so mad at her when that happened. And then I had to think, and I thought, do I have a right to demand that she present herself a certain way? And I was like, no, I don't.
We don't have that right.
But I did have a thought, whatever religion or whatever, I had a little thought where I was like, dear universe, please give Khloe Kardashian the fucking confidence to just show up as herself online, because she will help so many other people.
That, like, you know, like I don't know.
Because then you got the other one who, Kendall, there's like some bikini picture poster of her where her legs are like 9 feet apart with the gap in them, and it's like, somebody's got to explain that this doesn't happen, and you can't. No one gets to have this. So don't look at that one. Look at Khloe unairbrushed, still looking pretty unattainable for most of us.
I thought she looked absolutely goddamn adorable in that picture.
Yes,
like just no makeup. Like she's adorable. And just, you know, it's damaging. It's damaging. Yes. And it's like now it's being done on purpose. Yes. You know, when we should be more aware of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I saw something the other day that there's a comedian I follow who's also dealing with decades of body image shit. And it said, like, exercise is a celebration that your body can move, not a punishment for what you ate. And I was like, it should be that simple.
Yeah.
And yet it like blew my mind to read it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I know that on some level, but
we know the words of it, but it doesn't mean that we believe it or feel it, you know?
There's
or I've ever done it.
There's definitely a lot of EDs that moved over to CrossFit and eating paleo or RP diet or whatever. But for me,
orthorexia, it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that I didn't, I guess I just am always around people that have EDs, so I'm always just like, I see that pattern.
It's way more common than people think it is.
I'm like, this again, like you're doing whatever.
Yeah.
But so for me, CrossFit turned into this thing where I was very focused on what my body could do, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like, all I care about is like people would be like, well, do you want to lose weight? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I would like to lose 5 pounds so that handstand push-ups are easier. Like, that's why. I don't care. Like, I'm like, because my fucking arms, it would be great if they had to do pull-ups with less weight. But like, I don't actually care if my body changes. It could stay the exact same.
It's amazing that like I've never looked at myself in the mirror and ever thought that. Like, even now I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I have to fight it and like not do it. And it's just amazing to me. And I'm learning that, like, it is possible to go through life like that, you know? Like, since doing the treatment, I've gotten a lot better with, like, I never have ever walked into a room before this where I didn't compare myself to every single other girl in the room.
Laura was just saying that when we were talking before this podcast, where Laura was like, I go into a room and I, like, compare myself.
You scan the room and you see who... You look better. You think you look better than.
Am I okay?
Am I
Is
okay?
It me? I
Can I
always
be here?
know if I'm the biggest person in the room.
I haven't.
And when I used to do like fucking bar classes, ooh, baby, it was 9 times out of 10 it was me. And then it was like, figure out, like, just get stronger at planks and stop looking at whose boobs don't need a sports bra. Like, that's not.
I will say I went from that type of gym, the CrossFit gym environment with no mirrors, and I now work out with a coworker at Planet Fitness, and I make us go into the corner with no mirrors.
Yeah.
Because I've had a thing where I was like I guess I'm at a point where the negative thought comes in, I like recognize it, and then I'm like, yeah, that's just my body. Like we were like doing squats, and I was like telling her later, I go, boy, it's so funny. I'm like, I fucking don't like doing a squat in front of a mirror because I prefer to imagine that I look really fucking hot and not that like my whole stomach is smushing down into my legs and then it comes back up and then you accidentally wore a crop top so it's actually going above your sports bra because you packed the wrong shirt.
I wore a crop top to the gym. I only did it once. I only did it once and I haven't been able to do it again, but I did it once and it was terrifying. And
but did you feel good after?
And
you're like, no.
I'm not gonna say yeah. I also avoided mirrors. No, but you got to do those things that.
But that's our whole culture. Like, okay, you need a mirror when you're doing like PT exercises. other than that, you should be like, I told her, I'm like, I like working out in this corner because I like being free to focus on how my body feels while I'm moving it instead of looking at like, oh wow, like I do this, like I pull my chin in. I pull my chin behind my neck somehow and it turns into like 8 chins and I'm like, I don't need to fucking see that. Like I want to feel really strong when I'm moving a weight. Like I don't need to see this.
Have either of you read, I think I'll put it in our show notes. It's called the Millennial Vernacular of Fat Phobia.
No.
It's it came, when did I read it? In May. I found it online and it was like it's essentially like, how did we get this way? And it's like all of the shit, like how we were talking about all the stuff that's like ingrained, and it specifically mentions that like I found this article because it was like in a tweet that was like basically saying like women in their 30s and you know in that range are like fucked because we grew up hearing the message we learned was if you're hungry, just drink water. You're probably thirsty. And I like know that like that is something that is like wrote in my head, you know, that is like, oh, if my stomach grumbles, it's my first instinct isn't I'm hungry. It's I probably need water. It's like, bitch, eat.
That's what diet culture does. It makes you like, if you look at toddlers, they're perfect intuitive eaters. And they've done studies with kids where it's like, even when you're a parent and you're so afraid they're not eating enough.
They are.
You know, they say like the calories, maybe not every day, they don't eat the same amount of calories, but over a period of time, they eat the exact amount of food that they need to eat. And then we start with the finish your meal or you're not getting this. Finish your this or you're not getting that.
Or introducing like high fructose carbs that like set off a fucking chemical reaction in your body. Like you're like eating food that your body shouldn't eat because it's like not real food. And the kids are like, yeah, of course I want that. I want that sugar rush. Like,
yeah. But also too, they say like if you just like mix it. I read this one thing where this woman like she puts everything on her kid's dinner plate, including the piece of dessert. So then the kid just, it's not like this as special, enticing thing that you can only have afterwards, you know, like that prize, which then, you know, inherently makes it more desirable. You know, it's like that's why kids binge drink when they get to high school in the United States of America because they haven't been taught to, it's forbidden, you know, so it's like, you know, it's a whole combination of psychological things that your brain does based on our biology. But now we've got the entire advertising industry and people wanting to make money off of us. I mean, look where the beauty industry is going now. Jesus fucking Christ. These kids wear, you know, they have the fake eyelashes now that like you can't even wear sunglasses. You don't even need them because they're like an awning. But you know what I mean? Like this is where we are now in life is they're like, well, you know what? We have to find another thing for the kids to not like about themselves so that we can make more money.
Oh, yeah.
And in the event that you don't have a face full of makeup, that's fine because just go online and use a filter that puts you fully done up and then you do this.
Which is even worse for girls now. There's now something called, I learned this from the Social Dilemma, the documentary, which I highly recommend everybody watches it. But there's a thing called Snapchat dysmorphia now, where young girls want to, and people want to get
I was like young girls
surgery.
And people we went to high school with.
Yeah, surgery to look more like their Snapchat filter. It's something to do with taking visual images in, and we see it and we want it. And we need to be it. And if we're not, you know, there's always something more for us to be chasing. There's always some way, you know, that they can create a need to sell us shit. Whether it's, you know, you're not skinny enough, take this, drink this tea, or, you know, don't eat fruit, but here's a power bar that we just chemically put together for you, and that's like going to be awesome.
With mush.
You know, it doesn't make sense. And all it is like Weight Watchers shouldn't be a gigantic bajillion-dollar industry because they're, you know, it doesn't work. Everybody has to keep coming back to you because once you stop the restricting, and they even say, like Noom does this too. Oh, it's not about restricting. You can eat whatever you want.
It's psychology.
It's in the psychology. Are you trying to make them lose weight? Are you trying to make them eat less? Bitch, that's a diet. And it's going to backfire. And from what I've read, all of their numbers, like they fudge their statistics for how often it works. You know, it fails just as much as every other. 95% of diets fail.
Well, if you report that a diet works and then you wait 6 more months and gain it back, people will still be like, yeah, that diet did work. And you're like, well,
yeah, there's going to be a holiday. And you know who's sad on the holidays is the people who aren't eating bread at Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like,
dude, holidays used to be so stressful.
I was just going to ask, like, how, also just like going back to like high school and stuff like that. Do you feel like the feelings that you had affected your friendships?
Yeah, I didn't think anyone liked me. I had low self-esteem on many levels, but a lot of it stemmed from how I looked. I didn't have the clothes that other kids wore because I went to Long Meadow High School and they were all rich and snotty, and I wasn't rich. I might have still been snotty, but I wasn't rich. But no, I was an angry kid because I didn't like myself.
Yeah.
What it resulted in was I look back on it more like I would lash out at people because I would assume that they were talking about me behind my back first. Even when I had no proof of that happening at all.
That was like the tape that was writing in your head. It was like,
and it's just this negative writing around. And then in my 20s, I was just starving all the time and angry. I had a lot of anger shit to deal with also. And then like right before COVID, I was just fuck it. I mean, when I was 35, I did the fitness competition, like the bikini competition. So I got down wicked low to like 135. Like
blows. Laura's heard me. I get like ranting about like people that over fitness or just like people that do keto where I'm just like, just eat a vegetable.
Yeah.
Just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're not hungry. But like, please don't do all this crazy shit. Like,
so the dieting teaches you not to trust your hunger cues. And if you diet enough, those hunger cues go away.
Yeah, I feel like your brain.
Right.
And
so
your
when
fullness
you're like
cues.
starving, so you're eating like nothing and working out like a maniac, and then would you like eat on
an off day, I would.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I would either secret eat at night because I couldn't hold it anymore. It's like if you're a kid and you're potty training and you don't go to the bathroom, you're gonna shit yourself.
Yeah,
like it's the same thing. Your biology, it needs it to survive, and that's what your body's gonna do. So your body thinks it's in famine. It doesn't know that you're choosing to restrict food. It thinks that you are dying. And now I hear commercials about like insulin resistance. I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor. Okay, but like. Maybe that's the body trying to save your fucking ass because you're not eating anything and it wants to keep you alive. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe we're assigning this insulin resistance as a bad thing, but maybe it's our body trying to keep us alive. Again, I'm not a doctor.
different cases for different people. But
I'm just, who knows? I don't know. But
so did you?
I remember
in
my 20s there was like, I don't know, one of the yogurt companies was like, it's our moment, and they put like, go on our website for like a diet plan basically, and I was like, yogurt. I don't know what the fuck else to do, so I'm gonna try to go on a yogurt diet. And they had you like put your stuff in, and they were like, essentially we're like, you weigh too much for our yogurt plan.
What?
We can't help you. Like, and I was like, if I'm too fat for yogurt, what
fuck
the
fuck
yogurt,
am I supposed to do? Never eating yogurt
I was like,
again.
I don't like your texture anyway.
Yogurt sucks.
It's very
everything jumps onto the diet bandwagon. I mean, everything does. You can see all of the trends now. Noom is out here with the psychological things. Weight Watchers changed to WW
now.
Right,
and they're focusing
on Dunkin' of diets.
They're using.
But I'll give them credit because I do remember like people doing Weight Watchers in my life, and I remember being like, I don't think you should have to count how many tomatoes you have. Like, I was like, this just doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah, they gave you like 3 fruits. But Weight Watchers was started by some bitch in Brooklyn or Queens or something, just some housewife who was unhappy. Like, she wasn't a doctor either. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't. She was, she's not a doctor.
I eat grapefruit and cottage cheese, my husband likes me better.
I tried juicing. I bought a juicer and I tried that.
Like in your 20s? Or just
like 37. As an adult, hey, I could afford a juicer. I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
I did that. I tried that cayenne pepper one.
Oh, drinking like water.
I made it to about 4 p.m.
apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
I'm gonna vomit. Is that how this works?
In your cayenne pepper scenario, is that all you're consuming?
No, it's like what?
Oh, okay.
Lemon water.
Lemon water with cayenne pepper in it, and like you're only
But that's
supposed to.
all you eat?
You drink that for like how many days? I don't know. It's like a cleanse.
Yeah, I used to work with a guy who did it, and he was psychotic on the days he ate. and so like cayenne water days, we're like, how about we all just agree we don't go near his desk? It's not going to be good.
Like these, like the keto diet, right? Like these stupid fucking things. Like you're starving yourself. Obviously, you're going to lose weight. You're cutting out an entire food group. Obviously, you're going to lose weight.
My favorite is people are like, yeah, it works really well, and I just combine it with intermittent fasting. And I'm like, so you combine it with starving yourself? Like, what are you talking about?
Right before one of the things that led me towards treatment, I was frustrated because I couldn't find a way to maintain an intermittent fasting vegan keto diet.
Oh Jesus.
And at that point I was just
like just hearing that phrase, I'm like, it hurts my heart.
I was done. I was exhausted.
Yeah, I bet.
I was just in the book it was like, take some time and write down, everything you've ever done in the name of losing weight or staying small. And it was like a legal size pad with like notes written all around, and I forgot about this thing I did here, and I mean it was filled in, and I just looked at that and I was like, I might have to call a place.
You're like, I think I have to do something.
I think I might. And I remember showing it to my mom.
So what was your mom thinking this whole time? Like,
they all thought, I mean, I know I annoyed everybody because every holiday I wasn't eating something different, and like somebody had to accommodate something, and they would all have to hear my proselytizing and preaching about what's right and what's wrong. Obviously, I haven't stopped that. But
you're like, but now the message is good.
It's good. But, they just thought I was annoyingly trying to be healthy.
Okay.
And there were a few times where they were like very concerned.
I was just going to say
that I got small.
Yeah.
I would just be like,
ever step in?
Yeah. And I would just be like, no, obviously I can be this small if I'm this small. That was my big argument.
Okay.
And I just wouldn't listen.
Yeah.
And I hated it when people would tell me that, like, Kristine, I think you look really healthy. And at a size 6, which to any other human looked like a 2, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just like, that would throw me into hysterics.
If someone thought you looked healthy.
If I thought I looked healthy. And when people started to tell me that I was looking too skinny, in my mind, I was like, they're just being nice because they don't want me to like really get too thin. That's what
So were you able to maintain, like in high school or even in your 20s, were you able to maintain romantic relationships at all?
I've never been able to maintain a romantic relationship, but there's a whole host of issues. The body image is just the tip of that. I will say this. So since I started this whole journey, I found like I really kind of understand how important representation is now, because like, well, there's always been white women on TV, so it's like I never really felt not seen, but I never really noticed how much I didn't feel seen either, because I've been following, larger women on Instagram as, the body positivity and anti-diet and all of these women. And they've been very, very helpful and really inspiring. And there was just one girl and her boyfriend, and like she's in like a 2-piece and he's just like rubbing all over her body and kissing her. And I was like, that is literally the first time in my life at 40 years old that I have seen somebody romantically touch a fat woman's body. So, I never wanted anyone to see my body. I mean, it was a deep, deep shame.
Yeah.
So that, that and insecurity on any level, no matter what it is never going to make a relationship good.
Easy.
You know what I mean? So aside from that, but I also have like relationship OCD issues and a whole other host of reasons. I mean, I need to practice it, but like, dating is a team sport, so I can't just figure it out on my own. But yeah, no, it had a huge impact on it. Like I said, even in my 20s and in my 30s when I was thin, I mean, I'm not thin now, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what I look like. But when I was skinnier, like I said, it was, if he didn't like me, it was definitely because I was too fat. And if he did like me, I would almost judge him for it. which is just so
Wild,
fucked up, so messed up. So, yeah, it definitely affected my relationship. So anyone listening, I'm single and 40 and I've never been married. If anybody wants to know.
We're going to put all of her socials in the show notes.
Oh, no. But yeah, that it's affected every area of my life, I would say, except maybe work, you know. But I mean, and getting on stage that was super hard.
I was just gonna say, did you find that helpful or harmful or neutral? Like,
it depends at times.
Okay,
it depends.
so like
it really depends on the situation. Sometimes I'll walk out of there if you have a great set and, you know, your confidence is high. Nothing can touch you, but, you know, you're having a low day and I don't even want to put on pants. I can't find an outfit. I hate the way I look. I don't want to get on stage because I feel like everyone's just, you know, you're literally up there with everyone staring at you.
Yeah.
It can be a double-edged sword, but, you know, I figure therein lies the battle, right? Like, you do the work at those times and in those places, and maybe I have a meltdown and call 4 of my friends and cry to every single one of them one afternoon, you know?
Yeah.
But I've also started making the better decisions. Whereas, you know, just like last week I said I had that meltdown. And so, you know, instead it was like, you know, I was talking to my friend, I'm like, part of me really just wants to take a nap, but part of me wants to work out, but I know I'm not supposed to work out of fear of gaining weight. Like that was a really big thing. And she said something. She was like, choose the workout. She goes, if you go to sleep, you're going to feel just as shitty when you wake up. Yeah. She said, choose the workout if just to level out your emotions.
To make you feel better.
And to, you know, because a 10-minute walk will raise your levels, you know, and I don't have to go balls to the wall and want to die during a workout to have it count.
Yeah.
You know, so I did that. I came home. I was like, okay, I want to eat something healthy. You know, I made a good salad and a really balanced with my carbs, my starches, my proteins, my fat, my veggie. And I made all the right decisions. I planned, you know, meals that I picked a couple meals to prep for that week and went shopping, stuff that tasted good. You know, I still try to make sure to have a dessert every day, you know, just because like I'm still kind of getting rid of that fear.
I was just gonna say, if you're having that dessert, is that like a positive experience, or are you like, I have to fucking eat this dessert?
Depends on the day. Okay. It depends on the day, you know? Yeah. And I'm I don't necessarily, you know, if I really just don't want it, I don't have it. You know, you're trying to like reteach yourself to listen to, you know, a completely natural thing that I have beaten into dormancy. So, yeah, it's tough.
I think that's really, I commend you on working that hard. And I feel like I'm trying to, I don't know, because I feel like I've been waging this battle forever, but I didn't always know that it was happening because it was like quiet and private and sort of like on autopilot. And so I would just focus on what I knew I was like outwardly good at and not try not to think. And like in the alone is when I can focus on the bad and wrong, right? And so now I feel like if I feel like bad and I want to say bad things to myself, or I want to do like, you know, do things for the wrong reason or whatever, it's like, I think it doesn't have to be quiet, and you can call someone who you love and who loves you and say the thing out loud to somebody else instead of like say something terrible to yourself. And like, and then it doesn't have to feel alone.
That's the thing. It is a silent battle, and you're not supposed to express any of that. But you find out that when you do verbalize it, like I think that's why I'm so talkative about it, because
you want to just keep doing that.
It just, you know, it's helpful to talk about it and not and realize, okay, I'm not the only one who's dealing with this kind of stuff. And there are like, oh shit, I don't have to feel this way about myself all the time. Like what? Like it's really,
My therapist keeps telling me, because this comes up a lot, and and I often will try to like justify like, and I know that that's not right, and like this is how I feel, even though I know. And she's like, yes, adult Laura is fucking crushing it. She is like, she knows the things, she knows what's real and what's bullshit, and she's doing the work. She's like, but how many versions of younger Laura through the ages don't know. Like, how many are still reading what YM magazine in 1998 says you're supposed to be, or like fucking like how many little Lauras are still embarrassed about a dance costume and and that's what has to like be unlearned or be healed. However you do that, especially because like you don't even fucking know that it hurt you.
You have no idea until you really dig deep. And this is what I try and tell people who like want to like clap back over the fat phobia thing, because nobody wants it. Homophobia wasn't a thing either. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants to think that they're making fun of anyone or hurting anyone's feelings or whatever. But I totally lost my point. What was I saying?
When people clap back about fat phobia conversation.
Oh, that's what I try and explain to them. I'm like, listen, have you ever done any study on how your own mind works? Because it doesn't sound like you do. It doesn't sound like you have any sense of the power of words or tone or images or what advertising can do to people. Like, you don't know what you don't even realize you're doing. If that makes sense, Yeah,
like you don't even realize that you've ingested that material so much that you believe it now, and that's why you're like, what are you even talking about? And you're like, you have to be able to step back and be like, that's not a real person. Like the person I've seen in this picture doesn't exist. Like I saw this video that someone put on Instagram, and it was like, this is why we have trust issues. And it was a body, like a model who was already thin, and she was like putting her finger along her hips. And she's already so small, and they like sucked her waist in so much that when she ran her finger along, the Photoshop showed her finger bending, like backwards, because they had accidentally like taken her waist in so much, which you're just like, what the fuck? Like I also watched a video. It was like a sped up video of a model during a photo shoot, and while she lays down and they do her makeup and everything, and then they take the photos of her. And then they take those photos of this already model and they start photoshopping. They I think not Photoshop
only
is like a thing,
but listen to how insane this is. It's not even just whittling the waist down. They lengthened her legs. They lengthened her neck. They made her eyes bigger, her chin smaller, her nose a little smaller. Her neck. They elongated her neck, like, and her upper arms, like, and then they took her waist, and like she was lying down, right? And they like lengthened her torso, like everything was changed.
Yeah. Which you're like, why bother? Just draw a picture of the wacky body that you want that doesn't
I'll tell
exist.
you why. Because when I online shop and they're like, do you want to see a model wearing the size that you're ordering? I'm like, no, that'll look fat. I don't want to see that. And it's like, well, Laura, by the time the jeans get to you, you're probably not going to be 5'10" and 120 pounds. So why don't you just
look at them for real?
What they look like. Yeah. And like, it's all... What a disaster. Well, so that's why we elongate the neck.
Yeah. I like that they have those at least now.
I do too.
Because
I'm trying to make myself do it.
Yeah. You don't do it. I like do it. You know what else I do? Almost exclusively when I order clothes online, I only do really heavily reviewed places, because a lot of websites now are having people put pictures of themselves in the clothes.
Yes.
In the reviews, and you can like filter it by the person's weight and their dimensions, and you can like actually see. It takes away the like I told Laura about this website, and I was like, please just take your measurements and then just like don't assign them a value, but just like take your measurements so you can buy clothes that fit you. Because I'm telling Laura, like, she needs to know this, but I was like, did you know that you can just buy jeans in a bigger size and then you don't have to deal with this problem of like your old jeans don't fit?
Let me tell you something that I have learned that is very important in sizing up in clothes. Proper underwear that fits is very important.
Yes,
like, holy Christ, when that shit gets a little too small, it is very uncomfortable.
Yes. Do you guys know that's so I've been like slowly but not slowly gaining weight since starting comedy, and then this year I was like, I just kind of laughed about it, but I was just like, oh, fuck, you outgrew your fucking underwear. Like, and then I was like, oh, no. like, okay, you got to buy new underwear. Like, I was like, my underwear shouldn't hurt me.
Yeah, I'm like, oof.
Putting a gallon of ass in a quart-sized bag.
Yeah, I was like, this is not good. Good times.
Well, everyone's terrific.
We're all fucking fabulous.
I think it's crazy. I mean, I don't know. So do you guys feel... So we grew up with like Kate Moss was the ideal body, which is like not an attainable body for 99.9% of the population.
I don't think it's an attainable body for her. Like, how did she maintain that?
I don't know. Yeah. And then we had like Beyonce and J-Lo kind of show up, and then now we're at this like now Photoshop is introduced, so like at least in the past like you saw pictures of people and it was like kind of them, and now we're seeing like not even real bodies. Do you guys think, but at the same time this like body positivity movement is
we got Lizzo now.
Yeah, and
we got Lizzo now.
Do you guys think it's harder now or harder then? Like I think about that sometimes, because like, or in the next 10 years, do you think it will become easier for women, or do you think, because like we keep putting these like,
there's going to be a new, is it iteration? There's going to be a new rollout of something. There's constantly, as long as people try and sell us stuff to make money, they will constantly be telling us what we need. So I think they'll still find new stuff, and I think we're always going to have to fight some kind of battle. I think, you know what I mean?
Part of what makes today harder is the constant access.
Yeah.
You're never not
comparing
with a phone in your hand looking at something that's trying to be sold to you, that somebody is telling you they're better than you. Like, I think that's the constant exposure of it makes it harder, especially now, like as adults we kind of know and think for ourselves, and we're still having to remind
ourselves.
Yeah.
I think it's more. Sorry, go ahead. You weren't done.
No, I was gonna say I think you're right, Kristine. That there's always going to be until it's entirely undone, and I don't know that that's ever really gonna happen. There's gonna just be new waves of it.
Yeah, and it's even harder. I think it'll be easier for us to notice it as you get older. Gloria Steinem even said, she's like, women get more radical with age. And I remember hearing that when I was younger. I'm like, what? And I'm like, fuck yeah. But I think it's really, really hard for the kids who are just immersed in this culture with cell phones. Again, from that documentary, like preteen, early teen suicide rates are up like 130 something percent or more. I mean, it's up a lot. I don't remember the exact number, but we're talking triple digits. And it's a direct, the correlation is direct from when like everything went onto smartphones.
Yeah, because there was a book that came out that this woman wrote about teenage girls' mental health, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like a famous book. And when that book came out, people were like, oh shit. And they started like doing the work to like reach out to teen girls at a younger age and like offer programs in schools and da-da-da. And the rate was, and it was like our age. So the book like came out when we were like 13 or 14, and they did work. And so like statistically young women were doing better. And then I just like, I was listening to like an interview with the author who just re-released it with her daughter. And they said, like the start of the internet, it like immediately went back up, and they're like, and now they're re-releasing the book, but with these new things that like they were like, we thought shit was hard for teenage girls in 1990, and now it's like I think it was 1990. Now it's like they're like, now there's this new stuff to think about that we just didn't even have to think about before. It's like crazy.
Somebody in an interview on a podcast that I was listening to, it may have been yours, who knows. But they were talking, they made a joke. They were just like, I had to go and buy my torture. Yeah. I had to go buy that YM magazine. Yeah. I had to go to the store and purchase the bridal magazine, you know, whatever it is. You don't have to go anywhere now. You know, you're not running around your head. Like you can see yourself or other people everywhere all the time. And it is constant comparing.
Yep. Yeah.
Constant.
Yep. Which I think,
I guess my hope is like, people having kids now who understand that like the standards that they grew up in or that their parents or whoever grew up in were problematic and have like lasting negative impressions. Like I just hope people can raise their kids now to be kind to their bodies, and like some of the Snackwell era shit doesn't get passed on because we saw that it was harmful.
I think now it's just gonna be the keto shit. But I do think there is another movement of like Kristine, you said that it helps you to see like real bodies. Like the problem with the social media is we curate our own experience. So hopefully women start seeking out other women that look like them or don't look like them, like look like them in a quote unquote bad way. You know what I mean? Like just hopefully women start curating their own internet experience to match.
Yeah, you can
like,
consume
reality.
Conscious consumption of what you are taking in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like even in education, it's like we're not teaching them the correct kind of literacy anymore. We need to get these kids social media literacy, all of these kinds of things, because everything is so visual now, and I don't know, they're just getting thrown all of this stuff. It's nuts. It's so hard.
But I do look and I'm like, man, like instead of Snackwells, it's going to be like, you remember that your mom was afraid of toast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your mom was afraid of toast. Oh, bananas. You're like,
broccoli.
Any potatoes. You're eating a white potato?
Woo!
How dare you?
What? Is it your birthday?
I probably have another one.
Oh, God.
Eat whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, eat whatever the fuck you want.
I don't know if that's right to say either. Be kind to yourself.
Be healthy and realize that when you practice those healthy habits, not that I do it all the time, but when you practice those healthy habits, your body will be the size your body is meant to be. Everyone's bodies are different. Fat bodies exist. They have always existed. They're not bad. They're not. It's society's, the way they've treated it. And it's that representation. All you saw on the big screen when Hollywood came around is this one standard of what things should look like. And then everybody needs to attain to that one standard. And I do think that representation is starting to come out more, because you look at like Melissa McCarthy and Octavia
Spencer,
the superhero movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Not one coat hanger bitch in that entire movie. And that was all,
And they didn't make their bodies be the joke. They just existed.
They just
like existed. I was like, oh, so refreshing.
That's it, And so I think we are definitely going to see more of that. You've got people like Taylor Swift admitting and really talking about this kind of stuff now. And I think if people are keep doing this, then things I think will get better. But that doesn't mean that I do not believe that the diet companies are going to choose to stop. I think we have to make a conscious decision to do it ourselves.
But if you put more people if you put people in power, they're like, if I'm gonna write something, I'm gonna put people in it who look like me, and I think hopefully that change continues, and that there's more than one way to be a functional human, and that fat isn't always the joke, and you can be a functional human being with value no matter what you weigh, and in fact you are.
Yep. And it's like fat is always like everybody's joke too. And that's like a huge problem with it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're going to, at some point, look back at movies now. Like, so when we were back in school, some of the kids came back in hybrid. And so we had an hour lunch, and I was showing them all of the classics. So we watched Ace Ventura. We watched, what was it? Happy Gilmore and Tommy Boy. And the homophobic jokes throughout those movies, looking back on them, it's
You're like, oh,
mind blown.
Yeah.
And I feel like, this fat phobia thing, people are scoffing at the name of it, but it's going to be 20 years down the road where we're going to be watching films now and being like, do you hear how much they make fun of fat people?
Yeah.
And it's totally fine. Watching Sex and the City, I find when I start watching a Sex and the City marathon, I start feeling bad about myself again.
Yeah.
You know, they make fun of, you know, it's in that it is very important to be beautiful.
Yeah.
In that show, and watched 2 episodes today, and there was comments about it in each one, you know. So
yeah.
And that was supposed to be a women empowering
I know,
show.
and we felt great that they let women be on TV like
and
by
have
themselves.
Sex.
Well, Kristine, where can people find you?
Kristine at Kristine Blinn on Instagram, and it's Kristine with a K, and then Kristine Blinn on Facebook. I don't really have Snap. I don't really use it. I don't use either of those very often. I've kind of, you know, after making conscious life choices, have decided to, you know, not totally force myself to do social media all the time. My theory is if I'm meant to be known, I will. If all of the kids in the 80s without the internet need to blue on their Nintendo cartridge to get it to fix, then, you know, word can get around without the internet. So
for sure.
But yeah, I'll have all my shows and stuff there. So
and we'll put those in the show notes just like we do every week. Make sure you guys subscribe to us, leave those reviews, please. We love them. And you can follow us on all the social media stuff at Pinky Promise Pod. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.